Hello everyone, my name is Paula Ziebarth, and some of you know me as Madam Wingnut. I hope you're all enjoying these great presentations as we discuss back to the basics. This virtual conference would not be complete without talking about the elephant in the room, the non-native house sparrow, sometimes known as the English sparrow. In this presentation, I will talk briefly about the history and identification of house sparrows and the damage they do. I hope to impress on everyone the importance of managing these birds, what works well, what doesn't, and why. It is believed that house sparrows may have been introduced to this country to control insect pests. Their diet is comprised mostly of seeds, however, and they were soon identified as a major pest to agriculture. Originally revered and introduced to the U.S. in 1850, they were soon vilified, and many states offered bounties to try to eliminate them. Ohio enacted bounty legislation in 1883. As we all know, that did not work so well, and house sparrows continued to do very well here. When the Migratory Bird Treaty Act was enacted in 1918, it omitted the protection of non-native house sparrows, European starlings, and rock pigeons. Make sure you know what a house sparrow looks like and what it sounds like. Females can be confused with some native species of sparrows. The bills of these birds are distinctive, however. Their seed-cracking beak is a formidable weapon that they use to attack native birds inside nest boxes, they have claimed. A male singing near a box, in or on a box, has claimed it. Any little brown bird entering a nest box will be either a house sparrow or one of our native wrens. Our native sparrows are open nesters, and none of them will use nest boxes. You just heard the song of the house wren followed by that of the Carolina wren. House wrens commonly use bluebird nest boxes, whereas Carolina wrens seldom do. Although our native Ohio wrens are little brown birds for sure, with their upturned tails and beautiful songs, both species are difficult to confuse with the invasive house sparrow. I observed my first house sparrow entering a nest box last week. As you perform your first nest box checks this month, you will be able to tell if a house sparrow has roosted in a box simply by looking at the droppings the bird leaves there. On the left are house sparrow droppings. These birds are seed-eating birds, and they leave droppings that are sort of little white chow mein noodle-like looking droppings. They're about 1/4 inch long and they're solid. Now on the right you can see eastern bluebird droppings. These birds are mainly insectivores and will eat dried berries in the winter also. So their droppings are distinctively different. When you look in your boxes the first time this spring, you'll be able to know what's been sleeping in there over the winter. Learn to identify house sparrow nests. Often referred to as messy, the first picture on the left here shows the doming quality of a completed nest. They'll use a heterogeneous material, usually including long pieces of grass with seed heads, often feathers, but not always. Now the middle picture shows a takeover of a native bird nest. The bottom start, I'm not certain what species that was, but the house sparrow is built on top of it. You'll see pieces of cellophane, yarn, sometimes cigarette butts, very common in a house sparrow nest. The third has the hallmark house sparrow droppings in there, so always look for these. If they left droppings in a box, they will be back quickly to deposit more. Identifying house sparrow eggs here. You can see the variations in these eggs. The background color can vary somewhat from a almost pure white to cream or greenish or bluish. The left top egg in the right picture is a really good example of this. It has a greenish or bluish tinge to it. The mottling of the eggs is dark brown or almost black, and the mottling can vary as more streaky or speckled. Eggs are about 0.8 of an inch long. House sparrows can have 4 broods per season, with 1 to 8 eggs in each clutch. Warning that the next slide has some graphic photos because we're going to talk about what these birds can do. On the top left, these bluebird nestings were found dead on the ground underneath the box. They have been severely pecked by a house sparrow, and the one on the left appears to have its neck broken. The cracked egg in the picture looks like a Carolina wren egg to me. It has been severely cracked by a house sparrow. When you find eggs discarded at the base of a box and a jagged edge like this, that means a house sparrow's done it. We also have our native house wren will also depredate eggs by tossing them out of the nest box. But when the house wren does it, it leaves a small pinhole prick because of its needle-like beak. So that's how you can tell the difference. On the bottom left, this female eastern bluebird was killed by a house sparrow very early in the spring. This picture was taken in mid-March when bluebirds began checking out nest boxes. If a house sparrow has been roosting in a box and already claimed it, he will often kill investigating birds. His seed-cracking beak is a head-cracking beak. Eastern bluebird bills are designed for eating soft insects and cannot compete in close quarters. I took the picture on the lower right on a trail where boxes were installed back to back in poor eastern bluebird habitat, but it was excellent tree swallow habitat. The female house sparrow was incubating eggs in one box, and the male was intercepting and killing tree swallows that tried to use the adjacent box. There were 4 dead ones in here when I approached, and a 5th one was trying to go in. I was able to catch the sparrow, so made it a little safer for tree swallows. Now here is a great series of shots taken by David Kinnear. He witnessed a house sparrow attempting to pull a takeover of the nest by this tree swallow in his yard. David is a great photographer, and he caught the incident on camera. The tree swallow attempts to defend her box. She's no match for the aggressive house sparrow, and soon he's in. Now the amazing part. This male house sparrow actually is attempting to pull the tree swallow into the nest box so he can kill it. This shows you just how aggressive these birds can be. He has her by the side of the face. He has actually pulled her partly into the box here, but luckily she escapes. At this point, I really want to address the title of this presentation, Don't Pull That House Sparrow Nest. Many people try to actively manage house sparrows by removing their nests without trapping. While their goal is to chase the house sparrow away and show them they are not welcome, it seldom accomplishes this. It will keep them from successfully reproducing in the nest box they have claimed. But they can remain with that box for an entire nest season, rebuilding their nest, laying more eggs, and harassing and often killing nearby native cavity nesting birds. Pulling the nest can drive them to take over the nest of a nearby native bird. With their nest gone, it is much easier to build on top of that bird's nest that is already constructed. It is also easy for them to take it by force, and they do. Nest removal sets up an ecological trap for native birds also. When you empty nest material, it can signal all clear to a native bird looking for a nest site. The native bird enters, the house sparrow follows, and the bird is killed. Eventually, the house sparrows may abandon the site, but rest assured that they will then reproduce nearby, and they and their adult young will be back in future years to outcompete native cavity nesters who are trying to house. I hope I've convinced you that house sparrows need to be managed. Passive management techniques are steps you can take to deter house sparrows that do not involve changes to their nest or handling the birds themselves. Site box away from human structures, evergreen trees, densely branched trees or shrubs where they may hide or roost. Prune plants to allow better hunting by Cooper's hawks. Never feed seed mixes containing millet, and I recommend not feeding any seeds they will eat during nest season. Nest box will attract them, but don't entice them further by feeding them. House sparrows are highly social and will nest side by side in purple martin rigs. Clustering boxes actually attracts more. Plans for sparrow spookers and monofilament line deterrents can be found on the Ohio Bluebird Society website. Sparrow spookers can be installed on a box after a native bird has laid its first egg and should be removed after their young fledge. A sparrow spooker is shown in the picture on the left. Monofilament line should be installed on a box before the house sparrow shows interest in a nest box and can remain on box indefinitely. If you are lucky enough to have a chickadee nest in one of your boxes, put a 1 1/8 inch hole reducer on the box as soon as you see moss, and this will exclude access by the house sparrow. While any of these passive techniques can help deter house sparrows from taking over your native bird nest boxes, they will do nothing to reduce the house sparrow population in your area. And these passive measures often do not work very well. As soon as you see a house sparrow in or on a box, it is time for active management measures. Active management techniques include nest or egg removal, addling eggs, or trapping adult birds. I consider active in-box trapping to be the absolute best practice, and you can make an area with house sparrows safe for native cavity nesting birds if you trap early and trap often. The Van Oort Universal Sparrow Trap is shown here, and it is the best tool for in-box trapping. If a male house sparrow is left to sing in an area, he will attract a mate and the attention of other males. So best practice is to humanely euthanize a house sparrow once it is trapped. Only after the resident house sparrows are trapped and removed should you remove their nest. It is imperative to capture the male, and even better if you can capture both. At that point, empty the box so native cavity nesting birds can use it. Some people choose to trim wings so they cannot fly back into nest boxes. In all likelihood, these compromised birds will become food for hawks or other wildlife. If you euthanize them humanely and then freeze the birds, many local wildlife rehabbers appreciate the donated food for recovering raptors. I hope you'll look at the Ohio Bluebird Society homepage. Click on Bluebirds and Their Enemies and watch a couple of Madam Wingnut videos demonstrating in-box trapping and bait trapping. Now here's some other resources here that you might want to look into. The top one about house sparrow control. This is the cialis.org website that many of you are familiar with. It's authored by Bette Zimmerman from Connecticut, and she does an excellent job with this website. Almost anything you could possibly want to know about bluebirds and house sparrows you can find here. She does go into humane euthanization techniques, and you can look into those there. If you would like to purchase a deluxe repeating sparrow trap or buy your own sparrow spooker if you don't want to make one, you can get them on the second resource here. And the Van Oort in-box trap, as I've said, the most valuable tool you'll ever own, you can purchase here. If you're interested in social media, there are a number of great groups that can answer questions and really help you out. Here are some of my favorites on Facebook. David Kinnear posts a lot of wonderful pictures on Bluebird L. Bluebird Landlords has great administrators that don't shy away from giving good advice. Don't confuse this group with another group called Eastern Bluebird Landlords, which does not promote safe nest box installation. A little closer to home, you can share information with Ohio Bluebirders on bluebirds across Ohio. Most of these are private groups, and you will have to agree to the rules to join. I hope I've been helpful a little bit. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me through the Ohio Bluebird Society website. Thank you very much.